My name's Alexia Wood, and I'm the Executive Director for St. John's Homeless Shelter and the Mica Center. And so my responsibilities really are for the vision and the future of who we are as an organization, making sure that all of the programs we do are sustainable financially, to make sure that we are constantly growing and evolving to be the best organization we possibly can be to serve homeless individuals that have absolutely no other options that call us home each night. I've been with St. John's Shelter since June of 2012, so coming up on 6 years here, and then certainly the Mica Center since our doors opened in the fall of 2014. So St. John's is a seasonal emergency shelter of last resort, and so I often tell people we're the safety net to ensure that in the harsh winter months that we all know too well in Wisconsin, to make sure that nobody's on the streets because they cannot access shelter. And so sometimes I think the shelter does almost too good of a job sheltering individuals. We refuse to operate with the capacity. We will find a way to meet whatever the need is for the night. And with that, there are so many times that out in the community I hear, Green Bay doesn't have a homeless problem, or I didn't realize this problem existed in the city, because you don't see homelessness in the city of Green Bay the way you might see it in Madison or in Chicago or in Minneapolis. And yet, when you think about the individuals who are living on the streets, on State Street or Michigan Ave, that's the population we serve. It's a very chronic and vulnerable group that without the work of St. John's, the volunteers and staff that really keep it going, these are the individuals that would be living on the streets of our downtown area without the ability to access shelter. So that's really the focus of St. John's, is to be that safety net, to make sure that everybody feels not just like they have access to safe housing, but that everybody feels like they belong, that they have purpose, that they're loved, and that they're a part of family. And so we use that family model at St. John's all the time. And the Mica Center is an extension of that, and yet is unique in the sense that the Mica Center is a daytime resource center for anybody who's homeless or struggling. And so even if an individual, perhaps a mom is in her own apartment and paying rent, but it's a struggle. And so anybody struggling is welcome to come here, and it provides the wraparound support in the daytime services to really help somebody claw their way out of a cycle of poverty and to return to a point of self-sufficiency and stability. There's so much in this that brings me joy. And daily, just the ability to walk with people in their journey, to celebrate success, whether that success is tied to sobriety or it's tied to a job or a lease. And so we really get to celebrate just some of those moments with individuals, and it's awesome every time. At times you've walked that journey with people for years, and you've watched them struggle, and suddenly they get their mountaintop moment. And I think that is certainly one of my favorite parts of the job. The job is not easy. At times we come face to face with the worst the world has to offer. You hear story after story of trauma. You hear story of loss. You hear so much pain when people are presenting for shelter, and just coming in for intake, they feel like they're hitting rock bottom. And you'll often hear, how did I get here? How did it get this bad? And yet, even though we're surrounded so often by a lot of what's bad and wrong and broken in the world, we also get to see the best of what life has to offer. The volunteers that give so selflessly, the way the guests just forgive and love and support one another. Our staff are incredible. And so just being part of that, it's almost like a movement of just people pouring into one another, helping neighbor. And that part of it's really cool, and certainly brings a lot of joy as well. I mean, certainly the biggest struggle is loss. And it doesn't get easier, and so there have been individuals where they've come to us terminal, or they've come to us, just knowing there's not much time left. And even in the you get to walk that final chapter of their journey with them. And I feel a lot of responsibility. I feel the weight of that, of just wanting to walk alongside them well. But we have lost so many homeless brothers and sisters that I truly consider to be family. And some of them we've lost unexpectedly. Some we've lost tragically, in ways that that just point out flaws in a really broken system. That their deaths are preventable. And I think without a doubt, that is the toughest part of the job. Is you feel like you're losing a family member every time you get that call. And this year specifically, there was a day that we attended the funerals of 2 different homeless brothers on the same day. And a couple weeks later, we received the call that one of our homeless guests had passed away, and within an hour, we received a call that another one was gone. And just a couple days ago, yet another call. And gosh, I mean, just the fact that this world is broken and that people are dying alone, people are dying in ways that could be prevented, people are dying without. Sometimes I wonder if they know how much they're loved, and how much they do have a sense of belonging. I mean, that without a doubt, that's the tough part of the job. The first thing the shelter needs, or the guests of the shelter need, is just for individuals in this community to be intentional about making sure that every single member of this community knows that they belong. And so even more than we need financial support, or more than we need food in the kitchen, I think our guests need eye contact on the street. They need a, hey, how's it going? In a real true way that you want to hear the answer. And I've heard the guests share how valuable that is. And I've also heard guests share stories of pain when somebody has crossed the street to avoid them. And so I'd say more than anything else is just an awareness that homelessness does exist in this community, and an awareness of who are the homeless, that almost half of them are working, but they're working poor. Nearly 90% have a disability. And to refute the myths and to be aware of how resilient and strong the homeless community in this area truly are. I'd say that's what we need the most of, just because it has such a huge impact. Internally, in terms of what we need is, certainly I'd be remiss not to mention that we rely on financial support to operate. We are funded by, people who don't necessarily write big checks, but they have really big hearts. And a whole lot of individuals just like that giving. And then in terms of what we need tangibly, you think about the shelter, it's essentially we're running a house for 100 people a night. So it's everything from shampoo to paper products and toilet paper to warm clothing for men and women of all sizes, to all of the other things that go into keeping a house running. And so, if a donor is wondering how they can support, it's kind of when you go out to pick things up for the home, then maybe pick something up for this home, and for the 100 individuals that call St. John's home as well.